Hello, I'm Brett McGowan, writer-creator of Changeling and Urban Fairy Tale, and head of PR and community outreach over at the Mythoverse. And welcome to episode 3 of Behind the Mythoverse. Now this week's episode is going to cover yet another legend from the British Isles. This one, another one of its most famous ones. We are going to talk about those tricky little shapeshifters known as Púcas. So to start out, how do you spell Púca? Pick one. I guarantee you, any one of those is legit as any of the others. Now the rough overview of a Púca is that it's a shape-shifting fairy creature that is prone to mischief. I realize that does not narrow it down, but trust me, they have their own little brand of it. What separates the Púcas apart from the rest is that they have the shape-shifting element. Púcas are known to take the form of animals like horses, dogs, cats, rabbits, foxes, goats, ravens, list goes on. And they can even take a more humanoid form with animal traits such as long ears and tails. Worth pointing out that if a Púca's animal form is furred, it will be dark in color. Are you a Púca? Are you a Púca? In fact, the most common form of a Púca is a dark-maned horse with golden eyes. Now, Púcas tend to keep their antics to the realm of harmless pranks. Because while the Púca may not intend any malice, that does not mean the pranks themselves are harmless. One legend goes is that a Púca in the form of a horse will entice people to ride it. The rider, upon mounting the Púca, will then be taken on a ride that terrifies them half to death. But hey, Púca drops them off where he found them, so it's alright. In fact, there is only one person who is actually said to have successfully ridden a Púca, and that is the legendary High King of Ireland, Brian Boru. It is said that after the ride, he made the Púca agree to two things. 1. Leave Christians and their property alone. 2. Never harm an Irishman, unless they are drunk or up to no good. I've got a pretty good feeling he took a very loose interpretation of that second one. Púcas also possess the gift of gab, and they can chat your ear off for hours, only to suddenly vanish and leaving you wondering if the conversation ever happened at all. Now that I think about that, Púcas would make really great podcast hosts. Another thing to note about Púcas is that they are fully capable of and willing to lie if they feel like it. So if you ever found yourself in conversation with a Púca, it would be wise not to take them at face value. Now the question is, how do you even know if you're talking with a Púca? One thing that gives them away, they don't tell you their name. Now it is worth mentioning that not all stories involving Púcas cast them as mischievous pranksters. There is one story that involves a Púca milling corn into flour for a poor farmer's family, and as a result he ends up making them very wealthy. Now like most folklore out of the British Isles, the origin of the Púca is very murky. And that's even down to its name. The word Púca is an Irish word for ghost, and it's even speculated that it comes from an Old Norse word that means nature spirit. And in all likelihood, this is about as much of an explanation as we're getting. To the ancient Celts, a Púca was probably a nature spirit that could bless them with fortune if they properly appeased it. And through oral tradition, it became ubiquitous with the Isles, mainly Ireland. In fact, Púcas are so ubiquitous in Ireland that people still to this day report having encounters with them. Back in 2006, a man from Cork named Dennis O'Rourke reported having a conversation with a man who seemed to know an awful lot about his family going back 3 generations and alluded to an impending financial crisis. O'Rourke noted that the stranger never revealed his name, and 3 years later, his business went under. Now the Púca has very few pop culture appearances, but they do have quite a few noteworthy ones. The most famous one perhaps, and you probably didn't even know the connection, is the character Robin Goodfellow from Shakespeare's play A Midsummer Night's Dream. His nickname Puck and his mischievous nature all connect him to the Púca. Another appearance in a play is Harvey by Mary Chase, though you're probably more familiar with the film version starring James Stewart. And this is probably the most famous version of a Púca that's more benign. A Púca in the form of a horse appears in Darby O'Gill and the Little People. Places where the Púca is more referenced are Donnie Darko and the Into the Dark episode, Púca. Púcas also appear in novels like Tamsin, The Spiderwick Chronicles, and from the little, much is known. So, if you happen to come across a stranger who manages to chat your ear off for hours, but never tells you their name, you might have just come across a Púca. Also, avoid riding horses that seem to want you to ride them a lot. Did you like the video? Leave a comment below, hit the thumbs up, subscribe if you want more, hit the bell for notifications so you don't miss an upload. If you want to support the Mythoverse, two best places to do it are our Patreon or buying our comics directly off our website. Either helps. And with all that, we'll see all you mythomaniacs next time.